The Northrich Company is one of the top manufacturers reps for HVAC products throughout the United States. And joining me today is their Director of Sales and partner, Mike Goetz. Mike, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
16 years old, you decide to go to HVAC trade school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then York identifies you and they say, we want you to come work for us, and they pay for your school.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
I don't know if those opportunities are available these days, but it worked out really well.
So you started with York. How long did you spend with York?
12 years.
12 years.
I everything from research and development to running production to regional service manager. And then I left to start into sales positions and then just kind of blossomed from there.
What was your favorite part?
It wasn't running production. That's pretty stressful. But I think probably like the regional service manager role where I was traveling around and, solving problems and things like that.
That's because that role, you're taking a lot of complaints, challenges, situations, and that's your job, right? To solve problems.
Correct. Well, and I was young too. So the people that were, our age now, they were making money off service training and stuff with them. And then I was in my 20s. So I handled like the litigations when a JCPenney burnt down or something like that. And
okay.
So I would take care of that kind of stuff. So it was more of so I did a lot of the traveling.
So when you think back about your career, because I've heard you say that, I think I heard you say this in one of our workshops we did together, but you said that I always knew I was going to be successful, right? You always had thought that in your mind, right?
Sure. I mean, I think, I tell my kids the same thing, there's nothing you can't accomplish, but here's what it's going to take to get there. Right. And so I think as long as you do the work and put in, and be realistic too. I mean,
sure.
But, I think a lot of the goals are achievable, so yeah.
Let me ask you this, because I love the word success, but it means like different things, right? To different people. Like some people, success is, being able to go and just give and serve and help people. Success to another person could mean earning a whole bunch of money. Success to another person could mean the ultimate work-life balance, right? Like there's so many different things success really is. Like how do you identify like what success is in your life?
Well, I think early on it was always about money.
Okay.
And then you have to start switching that and start thinking more on the lines of, the challenges of growing the business and the competition and then mentoring younger folks in the company and things like that. So I think it evolves. I think a lot of people are, I'm sure you read the book, Think and Grow Rich, it's money is not the most powerful motivator, but for me, it was for years, of course. And then as the company evolved, then we start gearing towards growth and success is, watching some of the younger people achieve their goals as well.
I love that book, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Think and Grow Rich.
It's been written in 1932 or something like that.
Yeah. Napoleon Hill.
Yep.
I'm actually reading a Napoleon Hill book right now also. But yeah, those thoughts, those ideas are so relevant still today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like Zig Ziglar said, you can have anything in life that you want if you just help enough other people get what they want, right? And it's kind of on that same. So originally, for you, see, I didn't come from money, like a family who had money, and you didn't either, right?
No, not at all.
So earning a bunch of money was super, you wanted to do that because you didn't come up with it, right?
Correct. Well, and I think people's upbringings can mold you positively or negatively, and I think it also motivates you to get things and take care of your kids in ways that you didn't have and stuff like that. And so I think along the way you learn from different people, both positive and negatively. It's some good, some bad, right? I mean, so how not to parent, how not to run a business, things like that.
Sure. So when you say the things you've learned from people, some good, some bad, let's talk about some of the good things that you've learned maybe throughout your career from someone else. Like, is there one thing that jumps out to you like, this was a defining moment in my life that I learned something from someone that I still is dear and close to me today, that idea, that thought, whatever it is, and what was it?
Well, I think of a couple here. I'm kind of still going back to my early York days, but I helped design an assembly line to manufacture residential furnaces, and they're, hey, congratulations. We're going to have you run the assembly line. Here's 150 employees, and you'll do good. Don't worry, right? And so, I struggled supervising myself at that point in my life. I was pretty young, and so I went to a guy that had been doing the job for like 40 years, and he's cool as a cucumber. And I said, all right, give me some advice. And he said, be the same person every day. And whatever's happening in your personal life, don't bring that to work at all. Just if you stay even keel all the time, he said, if you're going to be a jerk every day. I mean, he was kind of joking when he said that, but it just be consistent, and you have to work at that. But I've tried to do that my entire career.
I like that. Be the same. Be consistent. So that means, to me, that means like not too high, not too low. Right. Even keel. Because people also would know what to expect, right? Because if you're all over the place,
oh yeah,
that's hard working with somebody like that, right?
It is, and we all have.
Right. I know I have.
Yeah.
So that's a good piece. Any others that jump out?
Oh, another, I guess, advice was, I got a lot of it. So I didn't really get a lot of advice, growing up. So a lot of my advice came from people that I worked with, right? So my first, job and stuff. So, one of them was, things you don't talk about at work. He's like, he said, your life, politics, religion, and your paycheck. So I tell a lot of young people that when they're coming into the company, you're like things you keep out of the work field, but it becomes hard. But that was one, I guess, I thought was always kind of stuck with me, and I passed it on to a lot of the young people that come into the company.
Well, those core, I remember my grandfather telling me something similar to that, like the things you don't talk about, right?
Correct.
And that's hard today for a lot of people. And, younger folks, they're coming into the workforce, and you guys are doing a really great job with younger folks, right? And you have a plan for them and help them kind of get acclimated, even and fast-tracked into the industry. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things you guys are doing?
Well, we have a hiring and retention plan for Gen Z. I know it sounds a little weird, but we, because the younger people, they're a lot smarter than, we were coming out of college. And so, you have to figure out a way to foster that. And so we have a lot of them. I think we have 13, 14, 15 that are 30 and under, and just the Ohio locations. And so, we there's some of the things that they like to see, like to know where their career's going. They like to, they want to be part of the decision-making process. They don't want to be surprised on certain things when we make big announcements and stuff like that. And so we've involved them, also given them the tools. I mean, they get more information out of an iPhone in 30 seconds than we can get searching the internet in 30 minutes. And you give them the tools that they need to be successful, and try to utilize them, for what they are, instead of trying to you always hear, oh, that's the way my dad always did it or whatever. Well,
sure.
That's great, but times have changed. So we try to change with the times and continually try to improve how we integrate new people into the company.
I love that because I've interviewed a lot of Gen Z folks that are coming out, high level people, like people that every company would love to have on their roster, right? And, and one of the things that they have told me is, how do they identify a company that is like who they would want to work for compared to one they wouldn't? Is there a career path? outlined, right?
Right.
And do they feel as if they are part of a team, a purpose, right? And it's not just a transaction, dollars for hours, right? Going through the motions. Like when we grew up, we were just like, oh, it's a job. I can earn money, right? And I think we valued money more than these Gen Z, people coming in that are super talented. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you hear the term ghosting all the time, right? I'm not sure that's ever happened to us. And I think part of it is some of the younger people, they make a decision whether they're going to work for their company before they even come in for an interview. And so they need to see that there's a good culture. So, social media obviously helps with that. But, also you have to have your account set up with Glassdoor, and you have to do all these different things that I didn't know about. And we learned from some of the younger people when they helped us develop our plan. But, it's just interesting. They're going to look and research the company and decide, I don't want to work there. And then they don't show up. And I hear it all the time. And so it's like, oh, whatever we're doing it right, but we need to constantly try to improve and make it better
Well, you guys do in my opinion, you do a fantastic job on really displaying what your culture is and what your culture isn't out there for the world to see. So your LinkedIn is extremely strong, right? I can go to your LinkedIn, and if I'm a job candidate today, I look at LinkedIn, I look at social media, I look at your website, I look at your Glassdoor, right? I'm looking at every single thing because it's the perception.
Sure.
And I'm kind of weighing like, I can see myself working there or I can't, right?
Well, I'd love to take credit for it, but I can't. Our marketing manager, Gina, does all that. So,
well, you've been part of that from the get-go, though, driving that and driving the presence on social media. And I know you're a big believer in it. The other thing that you had mentioned earlier that I want to talk a little bit about is mentorship. Because if I come to work for you, it seems like there is a lot of mentorship, and that's something that I believe that you enjoy, right?
I do. I didn't know how much I would enjoy it, because I have kids about the same age, or actually the same age as the people coming into the company, and my kids are still in college, but they, that is interesting. I mean, I think when we bring in people to the company, if they leave, we've had people move out of state and move on and stuff, but as long as they were like a better person because they work for our company, that's very important to us. But it's also, we try to keep them in the industry, and we lost a few that left the industry, and that's discouraging. Leaving the company, and that's okay. Maybe there's a 2.0 and they'll come back someday, but it's the best thing we can do is just do everything we can to kind of mentor them along the way and become successful. And, we have a lot of young people that are very, very successful in our company and have done really well, and they bring a lot to the table. We get a lot of opinions from a lot of the young people. They know that we have a speak up policy. They know they can just say whatever they want. I mean, the other day I walked in the training center, and none of my partners were in there, but they were creating a whole new procedure on how something was to be done in the company, and just completely rewriting it because what we were doing wasn't really working. So that's exciting. They just take that sort of initiative and just go out and just do it. And none of us had to tell them to do that. They just know that they can, so it makes it fun for them as well.
That's impressive, because you think about companies, most companies, and you said it earlier, like you have to, evolve, right? You have to continue to grow. But a lot of times in this industry, especially, and you see it because you live in it just like I do, but a lot of times people feel as if what got them here is still always the best way, right? But, Blockbuster was number one at one time also, but they wouldn't change their thinking, right? And next thing you know, somebody comes in and takes their lunch.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a good to great book too, but all those companies are pretty much out of business.
Right.
I think, not all of them, but I think most of them maybe. So.
It's funny you say that, because good to great does highlight all those companies that actually focused on success, was based exclusively on sales. And Frederick Reichfeld, who created the Net Promoter Score, actually wrote a book also back then, and it highlighted those companies that were customer experience driven, and they actually are all still around today. And not only that, they've grown substantially.
Oh, that's a great
also.
comparison.
So it's a pretty cool comparison. I'll get you the book, but yeah, it's you guys really invest. And you told me years and years and years ago about customer experience, right? You had went to and you had saw a speaker, right?
I have. I've actually watched him through Cozy probably a dozen times, but yeah. But yeah, and he had the term customer experience, and
way back when, right?
Whenever, yes, yeah. So I've adopted that term long, and then of course, you got excited about it because that's what your whole business is about, is helping companies develop the best customer experience. And we always look at it that way. We say, we want people to come back and say, working with them was great and it was easy, and we'll come back. And so that's it's always about creating the best customer experience and continually improve it. We see pitfalls and we quickly try to correct them and do what we can to make it better. Who
was that speaker?
John Milos.
John Milos, yes.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. Yeah.
Yes. And what was the takeaway from that? There was 3 things I remember.
There was a lot. I mean, one he does. Well, he built the company and then sold the company. But one of the big things was he developed processes and procedures for everything in the company.
Sure,
everything. Like how to change the toilet paper. Everything. Rob and I aren't quite to that extreme, but we're both ex-corporate guys, so we have procedures for pretty much everything. And so then it's consistent, right?
Right. That's the only way,
right? I mean, and I think it's the one example is McDonald's. You have French fries in, multiple countries and they taste the same, right? So, because they do it exactly the same. The other thing is, when you're looking for people to hire, I always got out of him was, you're looking for certain attributes in a person, and I still try to follow those when we're interviewing and adding people to the team, making sure they fit into the culture and things like that.
What's one thing you look for?
To be resourceful. Like, in our business, things go south a lot. And you have to be resourceful. You have to offer the customer another option. It's your order was canceled because of whatever. Okay, here's some options. Sometimes the option's going and buying it from a competitor, but at least you're taking care of that customer and you're solving that and moving on. So
I love that because for you and I, that's innate. Like, we're resourceful people. I think because we had to be growing up and, the way things are, but that's not something that it's easy to take that for granted and just think that everyone has that. Right. And that's a skill that must be developed. Right.
Well, and it's interesting because a lot of the young people come into my office and they're like, hey, I have this problem. And I'm like, okay, what are you thinking? And then they already have a solution figured out, and there's, usually they're coming to me because it, costs money or something, but they're already solving the problem before they even come in. And it's more to get reassurance that it's the right idea or whatever, more bouncing it off of me than really asking for permission, I guess, so that's exciting to have a team of people that they work for the customer. They don't work for any of us. So the whole idea is to take care of the customer, not take care of, not worry about who you report to or any of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So they work for the customer. They don't work for any of you.
In our view, sure. Yeah. We have department heads, but that's really, they can make decisions to take care of a customer without having to come to any of us for permission. Of course, if it's $100,000 or something,
right? But they have autonomy to make decisions,
right? Exactly,
right?
Yeah,
so it's impressive. Well, that you don't just get there accidentally.
Sure,
you have to be very intentional with,
Sure,
and you guys are process driven, so I imagine putting systems in place that allow that organic growth of a person, so they can come in and thrive. are in place. Is that one of your favorite parts of mentorship? Is seeing people grow?
That's absolutely, yeah, and see their careers blossom, and it's neat to see.
What's your most satisfying part of the day today? Because you have a lot of big things happening in your company, new, acquisitions, and I want to talk a little bit about that. But, what's your favorite part right now?
I don't know. It all kind of blends together, I mean, it's, but really, I guess, is seeing the culture that we have in the company. I think that's super important. Just that's very satisfying to see people working together, and that they're friends, and they are doing things socially, and things like that. I guess it's always neat to see. It's nice seeing some of the younger people take the initiative and just do something, and nobody's asking them to, nobody's telling them to do that. They're just like, hey, I did this. Oh, great.
Because that's pretty uncommon today.
It is. I think you have to have the environment for that, and if you have the right environment, then the people will have fun, and they'll just do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we really planned that. It just kind of started coming together, and
it just happened.
Right.
How would you describe the Northrich culture in a few words?
Good. No, it's, I don't know. I mean, I think, I guess this really customer focused culture where people are, it becomes a fun place to come to work, and if it's not, we spend a lot of time at work. If they're not having fun, then, might want to find something else to do, where people don't hate their job.
Sure.
And, that sort of thing.
I've realized in my life, it took me a while to figure it out, but if you're not having fun, it's really hard to be great.
It is. It is. It really is. I think I've told you this. My daughter, when she was switching her major for a few times, and I said, people do a job they hate for 40 years. If you're going to add an extra year to school at 21, that's not as bad a sacrifice. At least you're going in the direction you want to go in, and so. Because you have to love what you do. Right. You're going to be doing it a long time. So
I think a lot of people get stuck in that trap, right? Of like,
absolutely.
Having to take something because they need a job. And next thing you know, they're in it. They're stuck. They got the handcuffs, the golden handcuffs, so to speak. Right. And have you ever found yourself, well, you haven't, but because you started in the industry, came up in the industry, but do you think that that's something that people are stuck in today? And I think a lot of them are. I talk to a lot of people, like they're like, I've got a big mortgage payment, and we got cars, and we've got this, and we've got that, but they're unfulfilled.
Sure.
What would you say to those people?
And I don't know what kind of positions a lot of those people have, but it just drives me crazy that more people don't go into the trades when they're doing a job that's, if you're doing a job that you don't like, that going into the trades is a higher step up. And, I always tell people in the HVAC business is, when I talk to younger people, and what industry, if you say you're a service technician or something, and you would never be laid off. And if your company goes out of business, you'll be working before you get home, because I think the stat for ARI was the average technician was, say it was like 2016 or 17, something like that, was 56 years old. 2 years later, it was 58.
Mm-hmm.
So people weren't really coming into the business, and there's so many avenues they can go in HVAC that I'm sure they could find something that they love. If they're a technical kind of person and they enjoy that sort of thing.
Even if they aren't technical, like I wasn't technical, and I came into the industry and fell in love with it because of the people.
Yeah.
Because the people of the industry are just, I don't know. It's my favorite industry I've ever been in. And I've been in 6 industries throughout my career. And I always say the industry I didn't pick it. It picked me, but I had to bounce around a lot and have a lot of unfulfilled days and like looking at myself in the mirror going, I got to go tough it out again for another 10 hours or whatever it was. Right.
Right.
And like, once I came into the industry, I just fell in love. So number one, you're right. If you're a service tech, 75% of the workforce is retiring in the next 7 to 10 years. So you could fast track, right?
Oh yeah.
You can go up quick if you want to be a technician. There's an entrepreneurial side to it. If you wanted to, learn the business, you could start your own business and really be pretty successful pretty quickly doing that also, right? If you had just a little bit of acumen. I just see so many opportunities. Why do you think kids aren't coming into the trades?
I don't really have an answer for that. I mean, I think it's funny when you're just talking about HVAC is people you tell them, hey, I'm in the, I always have to say I'm commercial institutional HVAC, because you just tell people you're in the HVAC business, that right away they think residential property, right? They don't realize that's just this little piece of a huge business. And there's just so many areas people can go in the HVAC space. And I think a lot of it's just a misnomer that there's not, that's all it is. It's just fixing somebody's furnace in their house, right? And not this huge business for big institutional customers. There's just so many avenues, so many directions they can go.
And for me to rephrase that, there's not enough coming into the skilled trades. Obviously there's people coming in, but you're right. I think like that's the first perception is I'm going to be in someone's basement fixing their furnace, right? And the things that you guys do and the companies you work with, and you're big commercial, cool buildings, different unique processes, right? So talk a little bit about some of the good things going on at Northrich right now.
Well, as you know, most recently we sold our Ohio operation to Air Control Concepts. We then bought shares into Air Control Concepts. Air is one of 4 companies backed by private equity, growing, really rolling up companies throughout the country. And so we still have skin in the game, but the private equity behind Air is Madison Dearborn and Blackstone. And I'm sure you probably know who Blackstone is, but they are the number one owner of real estate in the world. They are the number one buyer of HVAC equipment in the world. They own a lot. And so that's exciting to go to this next chapter of our company. And the industry, the whole industry itself has been evolving over the last 5 or 6 years, and we saw it coming, and we just started adapting to what was happening in the industry at the time. So that's exciting. And, you have the backing of a large private equity, but, and we're all about growth. We've grown every year for 20 years. And so it's nice to have, the financial backing to support our growth initiative for the whole state of Ohio.
It's exciting.
It's very exciting. We really being the first in Ohio to be part of one of those large call them mega firms, because currently it's 25 rep firms. And Air looks at companies that have a great culture and they have growth and they have when we talk to all of our other partners, they're all just like us. And that makes it really fun, because now we have a whole different rep advisory group that we're all talking to and sharing ideas. And because we all have shares in Air, we we all want to help each other anyway. A lot of us were friends for years, because that's just what we do. And most of our friends are in this business, right? And so, it's very exciting, and that's been a trend for the industry for some time. That bigger firms, we realized we needed to be a certain size by a certain point, because we knew we needed to take advantage of being in a position to continue to grow. And it's really hard to be like a little specialty rep in our business these days. And some of them are very successful. We've been doing it for a long time, but we're not really built that way. We have to continue to grow, or we would get bored. I think, as entrepreneurs, that's just what we do. Rob and I both,
Yeah. Yeah. I can see you guys getting bored, so having to, new opportunities, new challenges, right? Taking on new things, right?
Yeah. Just the amount of people that we're going to hire over the next 6 months is just staggering. That's fun too.
It is fun.
Yeah.
It's always fun growing a team, building a team, assembling a team, right?
Yeah, we've moved around for different roles within the company, and we are so then we could build for the next phase of growth. And that's very, very, very exciting. There'll probably be 4 firms that pretty much dominate our space, over the next bunch of years, and they're all pretty much starting to spread out over the whole country, and that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And have the backing of, obviously, the private equity backing is something we're not used to.
Right.
If we went out and hired a dozen people, we'd be laying awake at night figuring that out. But they, for them, it's like, it's all about the growth.
It makes it easier. Absolutely. And well, it's awesome to hear, you guys built this, from the ground up, right? You started this company, you've been in business, a little over 20 years?
20 for me, a year or two earlier than that for Rob.
And then here you are today, right? Taking, the next level and the next vision of who you're going to be and what you're going to do. So it's really cool. I got one more question for you today. You ready?
Sure.
All right. This is we're going to turn right here, change of pace. All right. If you could have dinner with any one person, either still alive or deceased, anyone in history, who would it be?
I'll probably have to pick a family member. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably my grandfather, grandparents, something like that.
That's a good one. Did you ever meet your grandfather?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They, well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah,
I always say my grandfather too, but then I start thinking I'd love to have dinner with Elvis Presley. I bet that would be a trip,
Oh yeah.
So I start thinking about other people, but it always goes back to family also. Mike, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks.